Welcome to the Flymen Fishing Show, where we talk fly fishing, fly tying, and everything in between. I'm your host, Scotty Davis. Y'all got it all settled in? Your shop looks like.
Yeah, getting there. I got to do a little bit of organization, but I got all my stuff, and been cranking out some rods here the last few days and last couple weeks. Got shit set up to like plain rods and wrap rods, glue rods, all that stuff. So it's pretty good, man. I think I might have told you I lost my 4-weight sage that I had just bought on the boat. So I got a blank from them this year. So I just wrapped it and finishing the blank today. So we get my sage back.
We got a lot to talk about. You got a new house in Wyoming. You fished the Jackson Hole one fly. You sank a boat and almost died, survived. And then now the rod shop is back up and going. I mean, and that's just in the last 6 months.
Yeah. I know what's going on. It's been busy. It's been a busy 6 months for sure.
Yeah.
But it's been good. It's all good. Yeah, man. How about you? Things are good in Charleston?
Yeah, it's great, man. If it would cool off, it's 76 degrees and beginning of January.
Wild.
So
wow.
No white Christmas.
Yeah, it was kind of that way here. Christmas, like we had beautiful weather. We were getting days in the 50s and 60s. And then about, I don't know, I think it was like Christmas Eve, it started snowing. So we got a little snow on the ground. There's a little bit of snow flying today, but it was like in the 50s yesterday. So it's still pretty nice.
So you got a white Christmas.
Just got to pick. Yeah, we had a white Christmas, which is cool.
That's pretty bitching.
Yeah, I got this sweet old fireplace in the house, and the previous owner left like a big stack of hardwood. So I've been burning fires, which is great. It's always nice when it's kind of snowy outside, have a little fire going in the house.
Oh, hell yeah. Nature's TV.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when did y'all close on the house? When did you get to actually move in?
The end of October. I think it was the 29th. So yeah, just like a couple days before Halloween. And I worked up, I was guiding through October. So it was busy season. And then once I got up here, continued to do some fishing. The fishing held out really good till, I don't know, early mid-December, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. I was so jealous. Catch people up. Last time we talked to Matt, we were working together. So he was in Charleston, and then what are you, third or fourth generation Wyoming?
Yeah.
Third.
Fourth generation on my dad's side.
Yeah. Fourth. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess so. My great was born in Wyoming, and his father moved here, when he was a young man back in, I don't know, the 1800s sometime.
Yeah.
So, they've been here quite a while.
The draw of the state was too much and we lost you.
Yeah, I suppose, man. I don't know. I've always kind of been drawn to Wyoming. This is actually the first time I'm an official resident of Wyoming since I was born, since really? I was a little kid. Born. And yeah, I worked up here a bunch, but, working up in Jackson, it's so hard to find housing that like, I never even really had a permanent Wyoming address. It was always just like, use a buddy's address while I'm like basically camped out for the summer guiding,
Yeah.
Or staying with friends in Idaho, which is just on the other side of the mountains from Jackson, but it's not Wyoming.
Yeah. So what made you guys settle on Thermopolis?
I've been fishing up here for like quite a while, man, 15 years more, and just always thought the area was really cool. And it's just one of those spots that's still kind of sleepy. You know, there aren't a lot of folks here. There's like 3,000 people in town. I actually live in East Thermopolis, which is only like 220 people or something like that. So pretty small, you know, it's got that kind of small town feel, and just not a lot of folks, not a lot of people fishing compared to a lot of the other spots around. And, you know, it's affordable here. It's fairly close, easy drive to get back to Colorado and see the family, or like have my buddies from Fort Collins roll up. You know, it's an easy day drive, like, I don't know, 5 hours, something like that. So, and yeah, it's, and mellow weather, you know. When I lived in Bozeman, had all this great fishing right nearby, but the weather's so cold up there for so long that I would end up going crazy and have to drive down to Thermopolis to fish, because it's so much nicer and warmer down here.
Well,
you know, we can get 60, 70 degree days in March, you know, when there's still feet of snow on the ground up in Montana.
Thermopolis means what?
So yeah, that was kind of hot city.
Hot city.
It's the hot. Yeah. Yeah. The smoking waters, they call it, because like where the hot springs come in, it's like, you know, all this steam rising, because I think it's the world's largest mineral hot springs. So the spring is just like a couple blocks from my house, and it dumps in like 3.5 million gallons of hot spring water every day into the river. Yeah, so it's something, man. It's something kind of unique, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been cool. So we can just walk down the street and go to the hot springs. There's like a state-run hot springs there that's free, so you can just go and soak and hang out. And rode my bike over there the other day and timed myself, and it was less than 2-minute ride on the bike to the hot springs.
Yeah, that's not bad.
No, not bad at all, dude. It's pretty good. And I mean, it's even less than that to the river. It's just the end of my street right down the hill, you know, less than a block away. So I could, you know, when I was younger, I probably could have thrown a baseball into the river from here.
Yeah.
It's pretty close. And I can, you know, put the boat in there. I can pull the boat out. So like, you know, just logistic wise, fishing the rivers, super easy, convenient. Yep.
What's it like in the winter? I guess it's obviously not going to freeze over with the hot springs.
Yeah, it is a tailwater. So probably about 20 miles, 20 to 30 miles from here, it comes out of Boysen Reservoir, and then flows through the Wind River Canyon. And a lot of that canyon is on the Wind River Indian Reservation. But, you know, being a tailwater, it stays open all year round, pretty consistent flows, consistent temperatures. And then we've got all the springs dumping in, not just hot springs, but a lot of like cold springs too. And all that spring water just adds to, you know, the high nutrient content and the biomass of the river. So it creates really good food for the trout, you know, a lot of bugs, a lot of crustaceans, a lot of, you know, scuds, sow bugs, that kind of thing. So the fish are super healthy. And, you know, with all the hot springs dumping in too, it stays open year round. So yeah, we can fish 12 months out of the year here if we want to.
Oh man, that's awesome. Those trout you've been catching recently are beautiful, beautiful ones.
God, so nice, dude. It's such a healthy system. It's so fun. Yeah. Yeah. I'm loving it for sure. It definitely feels like, you know, made the right move. Glad I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you, man. It does seem like you're in the right spot.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it suits me pretty good. I'm
Tell me about
for everyone, you know.
the Jackson Hole one fly. Hell, that's got to be the most prestigious non-saltwater fishing tournament, and you came in seventh
Yeah.
out of how many people?
I think so. I think I took seventh out of like 70 some guides in Wyoming. So, you know, scored in the top 10% or whatever. And it's broken up into stretches. So they do the contest goes from Jackson Lake Dam up in Grand Teton National Park all the way through Wyoming on the Snake River, and then over into Idaho on the Snake River, on what they call the South Fork over there. So so basically, if you're a guide in the tournament, you have your stretch where you fish your dudes both days. So my stretch was up in Grand Teton National Park on the pretty stretch that goes right underneath the Tetons, you know. And I took top boat on my stretch both days, so I felt good about that, you know. And it just the nature of the contest, it's like, you know, luck of the draw, kind of what stretch you get as an angler anyhow. And some stretches just have bigger fish and fish better and have more fish than other stretches, you know. So it's kind of like generally the dudes that win the tournament are on one of a handful of stretches, you know, because those are the stretches that hold the biggest fish and the most fish, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Met some really cool folks, and our mutual friend Paul Puckett was able to come out, and that was his first time being involved in fishing the one fly. You know, he used to work in Jackson and lived there like, geez, a long time ago. I don't even know when that was, like late 90s, early 2000s, something like that. Yes. So he's been wanting to fish it for a long time. And so they got him involved, and he did some like artwork for the auction and everything that they do, because the whole tournament is not like, it's not like a cash thing where the dudes who win get a big prize. They get kind of a nominal prize. Most of it's like gear and stuff, but they're trying to raise money to put into the Snake River Fund, which helps fund, you know, improvements along the Snake River and education and all kinds of different stuff. So they raised over $700,000 this year for the Snake River. Incredible. And a lot of that money got earmarked for like teaching kids, which is super cool.
Yeah.
So they have an effort where teaching like, I don't know, at least 1,000 kids how to fly fish, and, you know, getting them out on the water and experiencing the cutthroat on the Snake River and everything. So pretty cool event for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't realize
it was really good.
I knew it was a Wyoming charity. I didn't realize it stayed that close to the river, which is awesome.
Yep. So they'll use it to improve boat ramps and improve habitat if they need to, especially on like the spawning tributaries, you know, that are super critical for the cutthroat.
Right.
So yeah, it's great that they raise so much money and it all goes right back into the fishery.
Yeah, like you said, education is just as important. What's the point in fixing it up if people don't know and they go tromping on it, you know, mess it all back up?
Totally. Yep.
So what were the?
So yeah, that was
what flies were y'all fishing? What were the one flies?
Yeah, so my buddy Josh actually took first place in Wyoming, and he deserves it. He's such a great guide, and he's fished the one fly quite a few years, and he ties his own flies. And so his top fly one of the days for one of his guys was a parachute hare's ear that he tied up on one of the Kona hooks that I gave him. That's like one of the true barbless hooks, because that's part of the rules. You have to use barbless hooks, and they have to be under a certain size, so you're not using these big giant hooks that are gonna, you know, really ruin a cutthroat's day. And that became like his favorite fly to fish this year, which I thought was pretty cool. I ended up fishing, you know, some guys will fish nymphs, some guys will fish streamers, some dudes fish dry flies. You know, when I'm out there guiding every day, we're pretty much just fishing dry flies. You know, they're cutthroat, they're super surface oriented.
Yeah.
So, which is great. I mean, that's what I'd rather do. So I had both of my dudes fishing the same fly both days. So I only used one fly for the whole tournament, basically, which was I had the one dude on like the biggest golden stonefly water walker dry fly that I could get away with that was within size. And then I had the other guy on my boat with one just a little bit smaller. And it worked so good on day one that, you know, sometimes the anglers will have it in their mind what fly they want to fish. And it's like, that's cool. You know, like if you have confidence in that fly, like absolutely, like fish that fly. But a lot of times they, you know, defer to the guide because the guides are out there all day, every day, and we know what's going on. So I just told them like, look, this is what I would be fishing if I were you, you know? And yeah, and we did good, you know, just the big, stupid foam stonefly dry flies. Yeah. And yeah, the fish responded well. It was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to be that guy that wants to use his fly, doesn't listen to the guide, and the shit never works, you know. They just get made fun of the rest of the trip. So
oh yeah.
Listen to your guide.
It's right. And it's a kind of a cool event. There's a lot of camaraderie around it. Like we you know, there's a couple events leading up to it where we have, you know, drinks or dinners or whatever. And then the days of the contest, we all meet up for breakfast in Jackson before we head out to our different stretches. And then at the end of the day, you have to turn in your score sheets, and we meet back up at the same place we had breakfast and have drinks and whatever. And the guides are always BSing, and that's always one of the big things is like, yeah, my dude wanted to use his own fly today, and like, so, you know, he didn't do real good. That seems to be a common theme a lot of times, but you know, you never know day to day. And the tournament usually happens like mid to late September sometime, and inevitably it seems like that's the time of the year when like everything changes, you know. So it's been stable and the fish have been happy and they've been eating the same thing for months. And then you get a big storm roll in or a cold snap or something around the tournament, and like everything changes. And now it's like, okay, what do we do now? You know, but so that's always fun too, is just like the time of the year that they have it. It's kind of towards the end of the season where it's almost like anything goes, you know?
Yeah. Man, that tournament sounds like fun. How many years have they been doing that?
Yeah. I want to. So this was the 35th anniversary. Damn. So they've been doing it 5 years. Yeah, yeah. So I think it started back in the 80s sometime.
Yeah, that's cool. What's funny is bringing up the next topic I got for you. How I learned about it was your Instagram post. You said, so as far as fishing guides, there's two types of people: those who have sunk a drift boat and those who have not sunk a drift boat. And you now belong to the latter.
For those who haven't sunk one yet, you know, because it's
that is some scary shit, dude. How did that happen?
It is. And I mean, it's scary anywhere, but like on the Snake River, it can be really scary. You know, that's our biggest river in Wyoming. And they don't do any improvements on the river. So they don't pull out snags and deadfalls and sweepers. They just leave it. You know, if something goes in the river, it unless it's like, a boat or an anchor,
Right.
so they try and pull everything out that's not natural. But if it's a natural thing, it stays there. So you can run into some pretty hairy situations at time on that river for sure. And they do regulate the flow somewhat out of Jackson Lake. So it's not really a true tailwater. It just there's just a little dam at the corner of the lake where they can adjust the flow. And that's mainly because the state of Idaho owns a large portion of the water rights on Jackson Lake. So they want to keep that water moving downstream into Idaho. This year was so hot and such a drought year that they needed all that water downstream to water the thirsty potatoes, basically, in Idaho. So they had the Snake River cranking this year, which is, kind of a blessing, kind of a curse, like way better than, say, Southwest Montana that like didn't have any water this summer. And so they were closing fishing, the water temps were getting high. And we were seeing some of that on the Snake too, even with, mid-August when I flipped my boat, it was at like 6,000 CFS, but the water was still warming up to that dangerous, upper 60s in the afternoon. And it just kind of made the fishing challenging, when the water's high and warm, it's like the fish just aren't happy. But anyway, it was a lot higher flows when it happened than it normally is that time of the year. And so that kind of had something to do with it. I didn't realize till after the fact that it was Friday the 13th. So who knows if that played into it or not. But, basically I have a small skip that doesn't have real high sides. It doesn't, it's not like a river dory that's made to take big waves and big water, but it's, it's nice for fishing. It's easier to row. It doesn't catch the wind as much, which is a bonus in Wyoming because we, deal with wind a lot here. So maybe not the most ideal boat for the situation, but it is what it is. And so that was part of it too. Is just kind of a lot of things just added up to a bad situation. Hi, Sheely.
It's like children of the corn. This little girl just peeking out of the corner here.
So, so those smaller skiffs are not rated for as much weight as like a bigger river dory, So I had two clients that were fairly large, and them and myself and the amount of gear we had, we were pushing the, weight limit of the boat. And so, I definitely learned a lot of lessons that day, but we had a great morning. We were catching fish. It was a dream of these people to be able to fish on Snake River and catch a cutthroat on a dry fly. And, we caught a few okay fish, and then we're coming into almost lunchtime, and dude ended up hooking probably the biggest cutthroat I've ever seen in the Snake River. It was a monster. Cutthroat don't get that big in the Snake because they have such a short growing season and a short lifespan, and so they max out at about 20 inches. We're lucky if we see a couple 20 inchers every year. Sure, there's a handful of fish that are bigger than that, but you don't see them very often,
Right.
And so he hooks this big 20-inch cutthroat on a big dry fly, and we're kind of playing him downriver, and I take this kind of little side channel and anchor up on this gravel bar on this little island, and we're getting, trying to get a couple of photos of the fish for the dude, because this is like, his dream trip and his dream fish and whatever. So he was standing up in the boat, and his wife was standing up in the boat, and I was standing up in the boat with the net. And we got a couple of photos, and then I realized that the boat was kind of just sliding off of the gravel bar that we were anchored up on. Mm-hmm. The anchor just wasn't really holding in that high flow. And as soon as I realized we were moving, we caught a stick that was just, a dead tree with one stick sticking out about the size of my arm. And it just kind of pinned the boat. And they were still standing up, and so was I. And I'm trying to pull my anchor rope, and get going. And all the dude had to do was just barely shift his weight. And it just just tilted and started sucking on water. Next thing I knew is the boat was half full of water, the back end was, and then it just flipped. And it was like seconds, it was like, oh, we're let go of the fish. We're coming off the gravel bar, hit a stick, boom, flipped, like that quick. And then it was like, okay, right? Both upside down, we're in the water. Luckily, everyone had life vests on. All the shit's coming out of my boat and floating out of the hatches and going down the river. And so I was just like, told the dude, was like, grab that dry bag, don't let go. The lady was close to the Yeti cooler. I was like, grab the Yeti cooler, don't let go, get to the shore as quick as you can. And I'm holding on to my boat upside down and trying to flip it over, hoping I can get it upright and maybe get it stuck onto a gravel bar somewhere where we can bail it out and get back on the river. And she comes around, and at this point we're going down into a split in the river, and that river is so dynamic. This side channel that we got sucked into wasn't even there a couple of years ago.
So you're
the river just
in the water at this point.
What's that? You're
still in the water at this point.
Oh, yeah, we're swimming. Yeah, I have no shoes on. Dude has no shoes on. He lost his shoes. The lady was able to get over pretty quickly to the edge of the river and get out. So she was safe. I saw she was okay. The dude was kind of following her, and he tried grabbing the same tree she did to get out of the river right there. And it just like sucked him under. And he got pinned under this tree and then like popped up downriver. And I was like, oh man, this is not good. And I'm still trying to get my boat flipped over. So I flip it over, and it sucks us in this new channel that just like pushed through the forest a couple of years ago and just made a whole new channel. So it blew all these trees out in the process of cutting through the forest. And they all just got jumbled up, half a mile downriver before it re-entered into the main flow of the Snake River. So we're going down this side channel with just dead trees everywhere, that I would never take a boat down. We always skirt around and go on the main channel around to the right. And so I finally get my boat turned over, and it's like, I don't know, 2 or 3 feet underwater at this point, but I'm holding on to it. And it sucked us right into this side channel, and we're going right into this giant sweeper deadfall, me and the boat. And I was just like, oh man, this is not good. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then at that point, the boat just like sank to the bottom of the river, like, I don't know, 15 feet and disappeared. And so then that was the fuck it moment. I was just like, well, fuck it, time to swim, and just swam to the shore, caught a little back eddy, hopped out, and I see the dude going down on the other side of this channel, and he's grabbing trees as he goes down and getting pulled under and sucked under these deadfalls and then popping back up like one after the other. Super sketch. So I'm barefoot running through the forest trying to get downstream to where this guy is, because I know he's going to go right into all these deadfalls and like nasty, nasty water. So yeah, my feet are all cut up and bruised and bloody, and I'm like trying to pull a couple of random things out of the river that are floating down, you know, and had just bought a brand new set of Sawyer wooden oars, and they're like, you know, floating down the river. They just disappeared, like lost, I don't know, 3 or 4 fly rods, 3 or 4 nice reels, thousands of flies. Everything is just gone. So I eventually am running through the forest and get to where I can see the dude, and he grabs onto the gnarliest spot on the whole side channel where all the water is just rushing, and then it turns and goes back into the main channel. And he gets up on the gnarliest deadfall log somehow and is just sitting there. And all the water is just coming and rushing right at his feet, like the worst spot he could have got out. But at least he was out, you know, and he was safe and whatever. So I had eyes on him, but he couldn't hear anything I was saying because the water was so loud. But I realized I had my phone in my pocket and it still worked. And I was able to contact the lady who was, I don't know, a mile away from us at this point, and was able to contact the dude. We all 3 somehow managed to have our phones on us, and they all still worked. So when she got out, she immediately called 911, and they were able to get her location from her phone and saw that she was in the national park and that there's no roads or anything around. And so they were like, okay, just stay put. We know where you're at, and we're going to dispatch, you know, rangers, park rangers from the same put in where we put in, and they'll be there, you know, when they can get there. It took them about an hour to get to us. So in the meantime, I'm just keeping an eye on the dude. And I knew one of my buddies was on that stretch because I had passed him earlier in the day. So I call him, my buddy Josh that took first in the one fly. And, you know, I knew he had flipped his boat before. And so he kind of had been through it and knew what needed to happen. So I was able to get a hold of him and tell him where I was at. And he came down, came over, got an eye on the dude, and was just like, oh man, this is not good. Like, he's in the worst spot possible. I'm like, yeah, I know. But, you know, he got me like some snacks and some water and stuff. And he went around to a little bit downriver to where he thought he could maybe get through all these deadfalls and get over to the dude. And as I'm just kind of waiting for things to happen, you know, I'm in contact with the clients. I'm in contact with the owner of the shop, my boss, and the rangers actually ended up getting a hold of me. So we were able to kind of come up with a plan or whatever. And while I'm doing that, this dude rolls through in this big like river pontoon boat. I'm like, whoa, man, like this is sketchy, you know? And he's like, oh, are you guys okay? And I'm like, yeah, we're all right, you know, sunk our boat. The rangers are on their way. And he's like, well, I work for the Forest Service. I'm a ranger down in the, whitewater stretch of the Snake River Canyon south of town. I was like, oh yeah, dude, I've seen you down there plenty, like I saw you at the boat ramp the other day. And he's like, yeah, I'm just on my day off, but he's like, I'm happy to help if there's anything I can do. And I was like, man, I don't know what we're going to do. And so he kind of assessed the situation a little bit. And he's like, I think I can sneak my boat over to one of those trees where the guy is across the channel and maybe get out to him. And I was like, well, if you're, if you feel like giving it a shot, go for it, So he did. And he was able to get his boat over there, get out on the log and get over to the guy. And so he got him some snacks and some water and whatever. And eventually was able to get him to stand up on the tree. And this guy he's a big dude, and he's, cut up and bruised up and no shoes. And he's got to walk out on this like dead tree with all these branches and gnarly stuff. And it took them probably half an hour, but they were able to get the dude off of the tree and to, not dry land, but like ankle or shin deep water. So he was safe, So that was cool. And then eventually the Rangers showed up and got us out of there and all that. We had to fill out an incident report and, all that. But my boat ended up, I had, I don't know, maybe 3 other guides from our shop on that stretch that day. And as I was going out with one of our other guides towards the end of the day with the lady client, because they could only take one person on the forest or the Park Service raft. So they took the dude because he was kind of in the roughest shape. So as I'm going out, I saw a couple of my buddies and they're like, so-and-so saw your boat downstream and blah, blah, blah. And so turns out it ended up getting caught up on a root ball, like 5 or 6 miles downriver from where it flipped. Like, I don't know how it got through that side channel and through all those deadfall trees. I figured it'd just get caught up there.
Yeah.
But it just kept going. And it was in some heavy current, deep water, pinned on a root ball. And, I'm booked solid every day in the summertime. So I don't have any time to go out there and like pull my boat out. And luckily my boss was like, well, if you want to, keep working, you can use my boat. And I was like, yeah. So I had to go back to work the next day and just like keep grinding it out, man. It was kind of rough. Oh. But the boat stayed in the river for like 3.5 weeks until the park rangers were able to pull it out, and they got it out of the river for me. So I did get the boat back, but I took it to the manufacturer and they were like, yeah, I think it's toast. It's too waterlogged for too long and there's too much wrong with it. So basically the boat was total loss. I've still got it. I could maybe try and fix it up, but new boat time, basically.
You could use it for like
pretty scary.
Yeah. Dude, that's extremely scary. Had you
it was trash
sank, you would have been in that root ball.
What's that?
I said had the boat not sank when it did, you'd have been trapped in that. You'd have been, we wouldn't have been talking. You'd have been in the bottom of that root ball yourself.
Oh man, it's so scary, Scotty. Yeah, if that dude wouldn't have had his life vest on, I really don't think he would have made it, dude. Yeah, it's pretty serious. And it happened so quick, that's the other thing too, is like, you have no time to prepare or react. It's just like, next thing you know, you're swimming and all your shit's floating down the river, So yeah, it was wild, but I don't know, I guess life goes on, joys of being a fly fishing guide. It's like either you got to put up with it or find something else to do.
Yeah, get back on the horse, I guess, in your case, the next day.
Oh, dude, I know. Right back on it. I tried getting a day or two off and they were just like, man, we're booked solid. Like, we don't have anyone that can take your trips. And like, it's just a domino effect if you can't do it. And I was like, well, I get that. All right, let's just get right back after it. And glad I did, because definitely, it just, your mind just starts spinning. And so for me to be able to get out of that and be like, okay, I'm getting right back out there, right back on the river. We're going to do it again. And then, do that for a couple of days. And it's like, all right, yeah, going to be okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You live and learn. I guess you learned a lot from that shit. Great Lord.
Yeah. So anyway,
well,
also nice to have this big mellow river here in Thermopolis. have to deal with like, high gradient and rapids and gnarly stuff. Like it's a lot more mellow. Like even if I did flip the boat here, it'd just be like, well, it's not like life or death where you're like, because I mean, people die every year on the Snake River. We had a guide, a couple weeks before I flipped my boat, similar kind of deal, came into this big kind of back turn eddy, and the boat just kind of caught an edge there and went down and flipped. And he had those self-inflating life vests on his clients, and his inflated and the dude's inflated. The lady that was on his boat, hers didn't inflate, and she got sucked under and didn't make it.
Dang.
So it could have been a lot worse, man. Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff that can happen and does happen. So you don't realize it till you've been through it, how serious it is and how quick it can happen.
Yeah. Well, yeah, dude. Hopefully that'll help somebody else that's listening. Wear your damn life jacket, man.
Oh God, I know, dude. Yeah, for sure.
Jeez. Let's talk about something happy. Walk us through Schliske business.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Getting back after it with the fly rods and everything, been kind of focused on the guiding more here the past, I don't know, 8 or 9 years now. And building rods here and there. But for me, I've built over 200 rods from scratch. So I've done a fair number of them over the years. And when I first started, I had a big shop where everything was set up, all the tools and the stations were set up. And then, I've been moving around so much the past 10 years that I haven't really had a good place to like have a dedicated shop set up. And so it becomes a lot of like setting up tools, breaking down tools, setting up stations, and that just takes a lot of time, and it kind of kills the motivation and whatever. So it's, finding this place that has a big heated shop where I have space for all my tools and all my materials, and I have a station dedicated to, planing, a station dedicated to gluing, to the lathe, the wrapping, all that it's huge, so it makes it to where I can actually be productive again with the fly rods. And so yeah, man, building a couple of trout rods right now, a couple of 5 weights, and working on a bigger saltwater rod, and finishing up a graphite rod. And so it's going well, man, and getting some good interest from folks. Been getting some new rod orders and stuff. So yeah, nice. It's going pretty good. And I've got a class coming up. These days a lot of the rod building stuff for me, I was really interested in like learning and figuring it out, how it's all done, how I could do it my way and do my own style of it, and figure out tapers and building methods and all that. And then once I kind of felt comfortable with all that stuff, now I feel like it's almost like fishing and guiding. I feel like I get more enjoyment out of it now, being able to teach other people how to do it and see that spark in them and see them get motivated and creative and all that. So I'm kind of focusing on doing more classes and more teaching and getting people into it that way.
Yeah.
So I've got my first bamboo rod building class of the year coming up in a couple of weeks on January 17th. And a friend of mine who I've just kind of known online for, 10 years or maybe more. This dude, Zeb Tonkovich in Pennsylvania, he goes by Snowman Custom Rod Works on Instagram. And he's he doesn't do bamboo at all. So he's going to come and take my class and learn how to build bamboo rods, but he knows how to finish. So he is one of the guys I really admire and respect, and like his style of how he finishes out graphite rods and fiberglass rods. And so, you know, and that's the other cool part about the classes too, is I'm always learning something as well, you know, and so I can learn from my students too, and just from the process. So that'll be cool, you know, to have a dude who has that totally other aspect of rod building, but doesn't really do the same thing as I'm doing. And we'll be able to kind of, you know, go back and forth, and I'll be able to teach him kind of what I've learned along the way with building bamboo rods and blanks and all that.
Nice. How many people how many are you going to keep the classes kind of small, or how many people are you going to try to do per class?
Currently I'm set up to be able to do 3 students at a time. And a lot of it's just having enough tools, you know, to be able to go around. The big time sink is like planing, of course, you know, planing out the strips on the hand form with the hand plane. So I've currently got 3 sets of forms and enough planes and everything, and enough whatever wrappers and all that stuff for 3 students. So I'll start there, and then over the next year or 2, grow it to where I can accommodate a few more people potentially. But yeah, you know, for now, and keep the class sizes kind of small. And then once it grows, I'll probably cap it at, you know, no more than like, say 5 or 6 students at a time.
Yeah.
Would probably be max. But for now, for the next however many months, I'll just cap it at like 3 per session. And a session is generally like 5 or 6 days, depending on how smooth it goes. We try and set aside days. Sometimes if everything goes real smooth, you can do it in 5. And I'm also doing, so that's like the full start to finish bamboo rod making class. And then I've also got a class where I teach people how to just finish out a graphite or a fiberglass or a bamboo rod. Or I have a class where people can just come and build their own bamboo blank. And so those classes are like 2 or 3 days, as opposed to, you know, closer to a full week. If you know how to finish a rod out, you can just come and build a blank. Or if you just want to learn how to finish out a rod, you can come and do that too. So
nice, dude. That's awesome.
But yeah, we're pretty good because I've got the shop space, and then I'm really close to a couple of, you know, good hotels right here in the Hot Springs State Park. So we've got the hot springs there. We've got accommodations close by. We can walk to the river, or we can, you know, roll. If we have a break in the class at any point, we can go and float the river and fish, you know, the bighorn right here outside my door. So it's pretty good, man. I think people are going to be pretty stoked on it. And I've already got pretty good feedback from folks already, just, you know, what I've put out there. So
nice. What are you fishing a lot of bamboo on that river where you are? Is it pretty suited for that?
For me, I used to fish bamboo just exclusively for everything, you know, and then I think part of it was probably when I moved down to Charleston originally, like shit, that was over 7 years ago now, and fishing in the saltwater more, and was still fishing bamboo some, but then, you know, fishing graphite rods as well. And then guiding a bunch too out here in Wyoming. You know, I'd always bring a bamboo rod or 2 on the boat, but generally for most clients, they're more comfortable with a graphite rod, and, you know, the bamboo's kind of specialized or whatever. So I do both, basically, is what it comes down to. I'll fish, but these days I fish the bamboo more with like dry flies. And then if I'm chucking streamers or nymphs, I'll be fishing graphite rod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, man. How's Miss Kara doing?
Kara's doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like Wyoming so far, and settling in.
So you're
Say hi to
hey
Scotty
there.
D.
How are you?
Hi.
Good to see you.
Good. I miss to see you.
I know. Where's the
Yeah.
training dog?
Lemmy,
Yeah.
He's inside. He's
cold.
yeah.
Love you, Scotty.
Yeah, you too. Well, that's cool, man. So I'm gonna bring Clayton out there and fish with you, but I don't want to come when it's cold. So, well, like June, July.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on what your definition of cold is. You know, we can get 60-degree days in March, April.
Yeah.
So, you know, really the 9 months would be July, August, September.
Yeah.
If you want to fish in the nice weather, come out during that time frame. We can have beautiful weather in October, November too, but it can also get dicey. Same within the springtime. March and April can be incredible. May and June are always a little iffy. Like the weather's nice, but we get all the snow melt.
Right.
And so we can have like big runoff where the rivers are high and muddy. And so the fishing just kind of sucks during runoff. You know? So I would recommend like the second half of June through the first half of September is going to be your best weather months for fishing out here.
Nice. Yeah, man, I gotta come check it out.
Yeah, for sure you do, man. And there's, you know, so many good hunting opportunities around here too. Once Clayton's old enough, take him out and do some hunting. That'd be sweet. Get him an elk or an antelope or something.
Oh man, me
We'll
first.
start with the fishing. Yeah, we'll start with the fishing.
Yeah,
We'll work up to that.
me first. Well, cool. Man. We'll keep in touch and tell everybody, hey.
Yeah, I'll do it, man. You too. Say what's up to Martin and all the other dudes.